Are you ready? Are you ready to pot it up?
Let's go. Let's have fun. Peatcast it.
This is the Simply Youth Ministry Podcast with Doug Fields,
I think it's going to be a four-shoulder touch.
Matt McGill,
Nothing says loving like a muffin.
Josh Griffin,
The internet is a hotbed of activity.
and Jana Sardi.
Podcast.
The show starts now.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Simply Youth Ministry Podcast, episode 129. Doug Fields here with my friend Jake Rutenbar.
Hi, guys.
And to my right,
Which is
Matthew,
stage left.
Matthew McGill. Missing is our good friend Josh Griffin,
Joshua
Yes.
who
Griffin.
is in Africa.
He is
with,
in Africa.
With the other person, the new, if
Yeah.
people have missed the last couple shows, they don't even know that Jana is moving and to Seattle.
Much to our chagrin.
Yes, and we
chagrin,
have replaced her, although I'm not sure she can really be replaced.
People can be replaced.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
people can. But what about her mind and her heart and her
Yeah.
concepts and her leadership and all that
See,
kind of stuff?
Yeah, but in my mind, I always balance the you can't be replaced, but no one's indispensable. And those two values collide, and
Yeah.
I'm just not sure how those work together. It's
No,
one of the
people aren't
mysteries.
indispensable.
My watch. I've been looking for that thing. Where'd you get
You've
it?
been looking for your watch?
Yeah. Did I leave it on the road
It,
trip?
it fits really well.
That is
I
awesome.
actually like it.
That is
People have been
funny.
complimenting me on it.
Have
the
they
whole
really?
day.
That's good.
No, you left it here.
Oh,
I
so
found
you
it this morning
Oh.
when we came in. So anyway, episode 129. So Katie Edwards, who's the junior high pastor at Saddleback
Edwards.
Church, is going to be joining us, and she's awesome. Great chemistry. It'll be very fun.
Great.
They're in Africa right now.
Replacing the irreplaceable Jana.
That's right. I'm trying to get Jana on one more time.
Yeah.
Why don't we do our regular listeners, sympodcast@gmail.com. Is that right, Chris? sympodcast@gmail.com.
We should
Why
write
don't we
that down.
send in some things about Jana? So let's have a closing Jana show.
Let's do a podcast audio only from the delivery room. Or the recovery room. That'd be great.
Oh, let's try it.
Dude,
That would
That'd be
be
great.
March.
we might
March
be there at
29th.
the same time.
Oh,
I know,
That's
but
right.
your wife does not look as pregnant as Jana. She looks.
calling Jana fat?
Jana, huge. Jana is adorably pregnant, cute.
Right.
Your wife looks adorably pregnant, cute, but not
Athletic
pregnant.
still.
Right. But
Yeah, she could
Aaron's
She
still
like,
doesn't
be
have
growing.
that.
Aaron's like 6 or 7 inches taller than Jana.
Yeah,
Right,
but
Jana's
pregnant people
gnome-like.
still have that like full on
Yeah.
like McGill gut.
Totally.
And
What?
and Aaron was over the other night with Jake and his cute little kids,
Yeah.
and she looks great.
Yeah, she's an
Yeah,
awesome
it
Aaron.
doesn't
she
look
could
like
be a
she's-
keeper right now.
She,
Like a goalkeeper.
she,
I got it.
you know what?
Inside
Not a
joke.
keeper.
Inside joke.
No, she's a soccer
Yeah.
stud.
Yeah.
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 She looks
Anyway,
And she's a
great,
keeper.
great show. Thanks you guys for being flexible to jump in a day early.
You know
What
what?
are you doing tomorrow?
I have to go to L.A. You want to go?
Oh, I'm going somewhere tomorrow.
that's right. That's right. I am. I'm going to L.A. because I got to get a passport.
Ooh.
Oh, you'll have fun.
I will.
I'm
Well,
going to
Kathy has
secret-
the
I'm going to
experience.
Kathy just
secret-
went through it. Yeah, right?
I don't know if we talked about it on the show last
Yeah,
week.
we did. We
Okay,
mentioned it a
that
little
Cody missed the trip to Africa
Yeah.
by one day because he needed a passport. Well, Kathy and I are going on a wedding anniversary. In 2 weeks is our
Cool. Nice.
25th
Oh,
wedding
that's cool.
anniversary. We're leaving the country.
It would
Awesome.
be nice if you invited me and Mish.
Well, if you were married 25 years, you could have joined us. How long have you guys been married? 10? 9?
12-ish, 13-ish.
What year was it that you got
I
married?
have no idea, but I
You
do know
serious?
it's 12.
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
But you do know it's 12.
Yeah, because we talked to Mish keeps me in the loop.
Okay. So anyway, that's where I am tomorrow. So thanks for being flexible on Wednesday. Today's
That's
I
great.
got a lot going on. I got
Where are you guys going?
my high school message.
Sweet.
Where are you guys going?
I really want to say.
Oh, okay.
I really don't want to say. Not that there is a lot of followers that are going to hunt us down.
Oh,
But
if
it
there's just-
smells
just
like
the chance
Canada.
that anybody's
just a
just
chance.
the chance
what?
that any youth workers there and would say, "Hey, can we get together?"
Well,
I
yeah,
would
but
say
we
no.
Hey, can we
Oh,
talk about
mission
youth
trip.
ministry, eh?
Yeah.
I would say no.
Hey.
I would say no,
Canada.
I can't. But I just rather not say right now.
I gotcha.
We can
It's great.
decide whether we want to say on the next
great.
podcast.
Not a big
Not
deal.
that many
Quebec.
youth workers down in Tijuana, though.
I know. I'm just saying.
That
All right,
wasn't
so
funny,
anyway.
was it? Chris laughed. I know that wasn't really funny.
He's very polite.
Yeah, totally.
He's very polite to Matt.
That's right. So anyway,
Dang it.
great Great. Jake, I heard you
Cool.
did a great
Awesome.
job last week.
Awesome.
Last
It
weekend,
was very
Jake
fun.
spoke in high
I
school.
heard.
I'm speaking this weekend. But we tried to get Jake to go on a road trip. Me and Matt, and two other guys.
Biggest mistake of his life.
Me and Matt and two other guys got on a road trip.
Felt like it.
We got a motorhome on Friday.
Yeah.
And we drove to Arizona to see some spring training baseball.
Yes.
We were there
Springtime
Friday,
baseball.
Saturday, and came back Sunday. It was very, very fun.
How much weight did you gain?
I gained 8.5 pounds.
8.5.
I saw you tweeted that. Was
8.5.
that legit?
Totally legit.
I thought it was closer
crazy.
to 9.
It was 9.
Oh.
I told Matt I couldn't bring myself.
That's
I
so
couldn't bring
funny.
myself to say I gained 9 pounds,
Eight.
so I just went to 8.5.
But you know what, though? You didn't
That's
really
so awesome.
gain 9. Yeah.
No, I was 187
Right.
or 186. I got it in my phone. It was 186, and Monday when I woke up, I weighed 194 or something, like 194.5.
See, and I think I actually lost 2 pounds.
Well, you lost it in the motorhome. There was one. I'm going to say bowel movement.
That's
I
the
did a bowel
safest way.
movement.
That's the
One in the
safest.
motorhome. The 4 guys.
You just don't use
Four
the
guys.
motorhome
You don't use the
bathroom.
motorhome bathroom. Well,
Why
for that,
didn't somebody say that?
Well, here's
It's
the
a
deal.
known law.
Here's
That's
the
just-
deal.
Really?
Our first stop, then we got to
Oh.
get started. Our first stop, we stopped to eat lunch.
Yeah.
Matt says, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I said, that's a good idea. We
Very
all should go to
wise.
the bathroom.
Yeah.
We're a half hour in. I'm not exaggerating on this, am I?
I don't know. I don't remember. I know it was not too far in.
It was quickly back
Right.
in the motorhome. Matt says, I got to go to the bathroom. All right, maybe we're like, where's Matt?
Yeah.
Right. You,
Yeah.
Oh, it was when we pulled over
We
to
pulled
help
over
that
to help
person.
somebody with a flat tire.
Yeah.
And we're like, where's Matt? He's in the bathroom, okay, taking a dump in
Bowel
bowel
movement.
movement.
Yeah.
Leaving a bowel movement. And
Yes.
we're going, Matt. So the
Relinquishing
whole weekend,
a
for
bowel
some
movement.
reason, I know it wasn't Matt's issue,
Right.
but for some reason, we hit a bump, and all of a sudden the whole place would smell. And it would smell for...
20 minutes. Until
and
we
then
opened
it
the windows.
Then it would flatten out again. We're
was
putting
great.
soap in there. We're doing all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
we
dude.
got a flat tire, Jake.
Guys,
that
road
was,
trip, you
that
guys.
was so loud that we thought we had been shot.
It was so loud, and it exploded right by the poo outtake tube.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a tube.
BN
that's the poo-
outtake.
The
Yes.
fecal
Yeah.
matter. And so that thing destroyed and shredded. And so we're on the side of the freeway. It's totally dark.
Yes.
And the only time you can see, we're in the middle of the
Luckily,
desert.
Right.
it was dually tires, so it was the
Yeah, yeah.
inside of one. So we
Okay.
had 2 tires to keep
Right.
going on.
But we had, at this point, I mean, we didn't know it was a total flat tire at first when
Sure.
we get out. And so there's something trailing behind the car. And the only time you could see, I mean, this is where, like, the Sopranos would bury people to die.
Right.
We're in
Yeah.
the middle of
You're
nowhere.
in the desert, yeah.
And the only time there's light is when a car is zooming by. So you have light for like 3 seconds. So I'm like, what's this thing behind the car? And I pick it up, and I have no idea. And I'm looking at it playing. Well, it's the shredded poo pipe that I've just got my fingers on. It was so gross.
when the tire exploded, it blew
Right.
out the whole thing. And,
Oh,
you
the
know,
poop
and we
pipe
borrowed
is
the motorhome from a buddy
That's what I was
of
gonna
mine.
say.
So now we got to figure out, do
Yeah.
we call insurance, AAA? We stayed the night at a Walmart parking lot.
Which was awesome.
It was great. Anyway, great trip.
And I learned some things. I'm rethinking my rudeness. I really am. I know you think I'm faking it, but it's totally true. We were at a meal. I mean, because you know me. If I'm having a conversation with people that I semi-know,
This is shocking.
I
right
will. I'll just burp
Right.
and keep talking because I feel like you got to. Or if you have gas in the other area of your body. I mean, as long as I'm not around like Misha's mom
Sure.
or with the president.
Right.
I
Which
won't
would be
do
about
that.
the only 2 you haven't.
Yeah, exactly. But to me, it's like if you could keep it kind of quiet, you just
Yeah.
go for it, right?
Yeah.
And so,
I would even keep it kind of quiet.
yeah, that's kind of negotiable. but we're sitting next to this guy, Hadley,
Yeah.
and he was just talking about how if I were to fart while he was eating nachos, he was going to punch my face off my head. It was so funny, but it wasn't
And
funny.
he recapped. It's like he took the 48 hours
Right.
and he recapped Matt's entire rudeness down to like a paragraph.
well,
Summarized everything.
yeah, I mean, he kind of recapped 2 different things, but yeah, you're right. You're right.
You know.
One, my
And he
my
did it
love
as
of
a-
argument and discussion.
Yeah.
And 2, my rudeness. And I wasn't really arguing with him. I mean, I was genuinely shocked at how violently offended he would have been at smelling something while eating.
All right, let's start the show. Raise hands. Here we go.
I would step back and say, guys, road trip. If you're not farting, it's not a road trip.
All right, here we go.
yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
I'm
everybody,
sorry.
Doug Fields here, episode 129. Jake Rudenbar,
Good to
Matt
see you
McGill.
We're not really
guys.
starting over, are
And no, let's jump
we?
into
Oh,
this.
okay. Remember
Kyle
the audience.
Gunderson from International Falls, Minnesota, had some ideas about taking an offering, resetting up the scholarship fund, inviting people to, being able to. He was just talking about how great it is that he's a church that has a budget.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it made me think that, when we started the show, we did different stuff and we scholarship people and did different things, but we got no money in the account right now. We were just lucky enough Chris, our fabulous internet web guru, was able to talk Andy Cheap Bones Brazelton into $199 software. We've done 129 shows, and we just got $199 software where we don't have to have that
3 cameras.
The
the
snowball.
ball mic right there
Yeah.
on the deal.
I like the snowball, though.
But we have no money in our scholarship account. So, Kyle, if you have any ideas, I was thinking, what if we did? I was just actually thinking this on the way to the bathroom, going, I'm going to drink water and not Diet Coke. So here's my water. I thought maybe I could do like a sponsorship. Sponsor me how many days I can go without drinking Diet Coke.
To raise money.
Yeah, and we could bet on your pound loss.
Oh,
Well, you know what we could do
a Matt McGill car wash.
is Matt McGill car wash calendar.
Genius.
Jake just found the Speedo baptismal video.
Jake,
Give it to me right
oh
now.
my gosh, you're kidding me.
No.
That's
Yeah.
15 years old.
I know.
So what if something
it was
like
tagged
that?
on a senior Sunday. Matt had erased every one of them, but it was tagged on a senior Sunday
Yeah,
video.
nice and
like a
toasty.
highlight video that we did at the end of 1999.
Maybe
Oh my
we could.
gosh.
Maybe you could auction off like a viewing of that.
Well, Cassie, for our team that's watching, is my 15-year-old freshman daughter, and she Googled Matt McGill last night for some reason,
Wow.
and had a Matt McGill sports instructional video that somebody used your swimming video as a beginning of their talk.
Oh.
And so it shows like the very end of the Matt McGill sports instruction video, and then he uses that as an intro to his talk.
That's funny.
And there's.
Strong. It's a great segue.
I think honestly, here's what we should do. We should reshoot the Matt McGill sports instructional videos.
Yep.
We should sell them.
Okay.
We should give a third to you, a third to you, and a third for the scholarship fund.
That'd be great.
It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
What's the
I'm
scholarship
sure
go to?
Brazelton will get some cut. I shouldn't say third. I'm sure you get a royalty from it. I don't know
Yeah.
what scholarship. I just thought it was a good idea, Kyle. I appreciate people looking out
through.
for other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Scholarship for the conference.
I don't know, conference for
Helping
resources.
hurting
I mean, we
youth
give
workers?
resources away all the time. So, this is from Craig from Walla Walla, Washington. Craig is a regular. I've read Walla Walla many, many times.
Yes, and his last name. I like the last name.
Piper?
Yeah,
Peefer?
Piper.
I don't know.
It's a twofer. It's a Piper.
He says, I find that when we are doing the podcast together, he says,
Oh,
I
thank
mostly
you,
listen.
Craig.
You guys laugh at the same thing I would. You make the same jokes I would. Generally have the same mindset and personality that I have.
Like-minded.
All that to say, we have a lot in common. So it makes sense that we would possibly struggle in many of the same areas. So I come to you for help. For the past 40 days, God has been showing me an ugly side of myself. I have an unhealthy desire for acclamation, and my pride has ballooned. When I first started at Trinity 4 years ago, I hated when people asked how big our group was. I usually said they average around 130 pounds each, which actually is a good line.
Great
That
response.
is really funny.
But for the last year
like-minded.
or more, I would lead people to the question in conversations and soak in their amazement to the number I put out. I found myself comparing my ministry to lesser, quote-unquote, ministries and even shining light on other weaknesses to make myself look better. God is breaking me and recalibrating my compass. I feel like He rescued me from a road that led to, at best, total burnout and at worst, complete moral failure. Praise God, He woke me up. Since we are so alike, I want to know how you guys keep your pride in check. How do you keep your motives holy? What are the dashboard warning lights I should be looking for? I'm 32 years old. I've been married for 10 years. I have 4 awesome kids, and I thought I would have grown out of this by now.
Yeah.
Great question.
Great email,
Yes.
All right, Matt, since you're the most prideful of the three of us,
You got
do you want to address that?
You got that right. I think, well, there's a couple things. I specifically right now, I'm spending a lot of time reading Psalm 119, and one of the verses in there, I don't know the number, I haven't memorized it yet, but it was talking about how the prideful make fun of, the prideful mock. And so it made me stop and think, what are the things I'm making fun of? Like a lot. I mean, more, we tease and do a little ribbing. But the things that I'm making fun of a lot, the fact that that's coming from a prideful place, that's a warning light for me. That's something that's making me think that through. So that's me right now when I'm thinking about these days. But me, what's a normal, regular habit in my life, for one, I really do pay a lot of attention to the mistakes I made and make and stuff like that. I mean, to me, like last week when I said damn without thinking about it, to me, like I really stopped. I mean, I don't
on
mind
the podcast.
Yeah, I said it on the podcast. Like to me,
and to people who aren't on our live show, because I don't even think you said it before the live show, didn't you? Or did our live show here? Any minute. The rest of our team, Jake says. So, what are our ground rules on bad language this week? Jake, that was a great line.
Yeah.
Save that. Save that for the podcast.
Yeah. So to me, like I really do want to focus on the mistakes I make, not to be negative and not to harp and beat myself up, but I really think that's how I interpret when Jesus says, "You've been forgiven much, you will forgive others much." So to me, I need to focus on the areas where I need to be forgiven. And I spend a lot of time reflecting. Anytime I do something and I'm surprised by the response, where I am totally taken off guard by what the other person says, that slows me way down.
What about surprised by your own response? Do you ever get that much?
No, I'm usually, because I'm very, like I respond quickly.
Yeah.
But very rarely is it an uncontrolled response or not something I haven't planned or I haven't thought through.
Yeah.
Like when we were excited about a movie and I punched, and we did the knuckle with Vino and I hit him hard, that was a surprise. Like I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to get so excited about a movie that I punched, this old guy's hand, and almost disintegrated it. That was a response
that you would evaluate.
That I evaluated and am very sorry for doing something like that. I mean, we're good friends and all you did was hurt a knuckle for 10 minutes, but that's a lack of self-control. But to me, when I do something that has a response in somebody else that surprises me, that's where I stop. And that's why I'm rethinking the rudeness thing. I mean, his response the passion was so, I mean, normally from you guys and stuff, and this is my fault for not listening on the rudeness issue. Normally it's like laughter and it's like, oh Matt, come on, that's right. And I just think, oh, they're laughing, who cares? So that's it for me.
Okay, this is a little aside. We're moving off of Craig to you for a second, but your personality is so strong,
right?
And people don't like to argue with you,
right?
So you're not always going to get responses because people they just don't want to engage.
Yes. Oh, and therefore. I know that, and therefore, when I do get a response, how much even more?
Yeah, just think of all the responses you're missing because nobody wants to respond.
Yeah,
I'm just going to carry a card around.
But
I would respond, but I don't want to argue with you.
But just think of about how shallow and weak the world would be without my showing up strongly.
Pride, right there.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Well, when I read this. Craig, this is a top 10 email.
Oh, this
I think
is
that we've ever got. It's
pure heart.
I have such an appreciation for the self-awareness and the transparency to allow the rest of our team to learn from that. To me, what a huge step of healing just to be able to 1, acknowledge it, 2, confess it,
right.
3, articulate it, and 4, share it. If I had a 5th, that would be a nice little pamphlet. So I really, really, really appreciate that. I think you keep your pride in check by being in community. Matt and I talk about this a lot because we're surrounded by some people who aren't in community at all. And so even little things like their comments or their Twitters or their emails can be taken out of context because there's nobody to challenge them. There's nobody to say, whoa, what were you thinking about that? Or that came off a little weird.
Yep.
You know, so the more you can be vulnerable with even some of your close volunteers who are around you, or a
Yeah.
friend, you know, somebody like that, they can kind of raise that flag. But, you know, I remember Tommy and Eddie many, many years ago.
Skit guys.
Skit
for
guys,
our
yes.
crew.
Yeah. They we were at some place speaking somewhere, and I just got done speaking, and they performed earlier. I can't remember, whatever. People responded to me very nicely after I was done speaking.
Yeah.
And Tommy said something like, how do you keep, you know, when you experience something like that, how do you keep your pride in check?
Yeah.
And for me, my response was really quick and simple, and I just go, well, because I know in my core what an idiot I am.
Right.
You know, I mean, when I just know, you know,
Yeah.
that's why comparison is so hurtful, because people are comparing what they don't know about me to what they know about themselves. And so when he said, you know, I'm 32 years old, blah, 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 I thought I should have grown out of this by now. I think about that with every sin.
Well, I think, I mean, here's the story of my faith. I mean, one of the first thoughts I had in the beginning, I mean, to me, pride was there in the beginning because not many people take God seriously. You know, not many people accept Christ as Savior of their life and have a relationship with the Creator who trumps everything. And so to me, the second you submit yourself to God, I mean, you're doing something that most people aren't doing. And it's real easy to say, man, most people are missing out on this. And no, I'm not better because Jesus died for me and I can't earn my own salvation. I mean, that's there, but every step of the way, I think the more you grow as a believer, the more you grow in your faith, not just as a leader of a ministry with success that way. I think the more you grow, the more it's easier to look around and find so many people that aren't growing.
Yeah.
People that legitimately aren't growing, you know, and that's tough. I mean, I think that's always there, and it's, at least for me, it's going to be there till the day I die.
So that feeds into your pride, like, look how much I'm growing?
Uh-huh. The second I started growing as a Christian, I thought,
like I'm so much better than them.
yes.
Well, it's probably more subtle than that, but
Yeah, it is more subtle than that, but that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And a better that's not better. I mean, the only better is making a choice.
Yeah.
Not a better, not a work,
Yeah.
not 10 works I could stack on top of each other to reach heaven.
Yeah.
But just the ability of making a choice and the ability of, man, I'm taking God seriously,
Yeah.
but they're not.
See, I wonder what the the psychology behind that versus my response. Well, I rarely ever think I'm so much better. I don't go that route.
But see, but the thing that you said is what I led with. Is I think about where I need to be forgiven. I
Yeah.
mean, I focus on my mistakes
Yeah.
because I know how much I've forgiven. I need to forgive other people.
Yeah.
But to me, it's are you a better speaker than most people? Than most teachers that are out there? Obviously you are.
In this room,
Yeah, but if we were to stack up, you know, everybody who calls himself a Christian, and let's just not even say speaking, let's just say gifts, you know, that you, as a believer, you know, you have this gift, you have this, you have this. The amount of time you've spent focusing and putting your gift to work and growing and developing it,
Yeah.
and you know, you have worked harder on your gift than most believers have worked on their gifts.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. And so to me, the danger is when you place a value on that.
Yeah.
And I don't most of the time.
yeah.
I mean, that's
no.
why.
I guess that's where I was going. Is that it just be? I wasn't saying one
Yeah.
response is better than the other. I just for me, I rarely go to that part of I'm so much better.
sure.
I do go to the part of like when I'm around my friends who don't know Jesus,
Right.
and I see the choices they've made, I think I'm so blessed. You know, or when I watch my kids make right decisions versus
Sure,
other kids, you know.
sure.
But I typically go to the, you know, I keep my pride in check. I think I do anyway, by just going, you know, what a knucklehead I am, and the fact that I'm 47 years old and still struggling with things that I shouldn't be struggling with, or feel
Yeah.
like I shouldn't be struggling with.
Yeah.
Yeah, Craig, this is good.
Yeah.
Be fun to.
To me, this is one of the 3 or 4. I mean, this is the number one issue that every believer,
Right.
every struggle comes out of this
right.
in one way or another. Specifically here, it's leadership, it's accomplishment, it's comparison.
Yeah.
But at its core, it's self-sufficiency, self-achievement. It's I've done this,
Yeah.
and which is the core of every.
Well, and imagine
sin.
Craig or every youth worker, on our team listening, created or serving in an environment, getting so much recognition for how they're using their gifts, that need to be stroked
Right.
Yeah.
wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
How refreshing when we talk about what would church look like to do it different.
Right.
To be a part of a team where that collective body is so stacking hands and recognizing one another's gifts and expressing them, where you don't feel the need to have to toot your own horn.
Yeah.
You don't have that's a great. I think we have a lot of.
We have a lot of that, but I think this expresses itself even in different ways, like between me and you, is like to me, I don't have a huge need for people to recognize my accomplishments.
Yeah.
Obviously. I'm a jerk to people, right?
Right.
Sometimes I'm a jerk. I come off a little harder on this show than I really am.
Right.
And again, there's two different people that said at the conference last week, man, he's a lot nicer in person. But see, to me, like my deep
And I always
need,
say he can be.
He can be. He's not always. But to me, it really isn't even about agreement or recognition for me. To me, it's understood. Did someone take the time to understand what I was saying?
Yeah.
Rather than, I don't need a bunch of people to say, "Oh, you did a great job. You did a great job."
Yeah.
And if someone just disagrees without listening, that's where I get.
Yeah, I saw one of your Twitters today. About
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That didn't come from something that happened today. It came from something that happened a while ago, and it was a minor issue.
Yeah.
But
You were just reflecting on it.
I was just reflecting on it. So,
Jake, you got anything on this that you want to add?
You guys were rolling. The only thing I was going to say is I was first thinking about, it's easy for me to keep pride like work contexts. But one of the key things for me that I think of when I notice pride is if there's elements in my life that I feel like are not being talked about with my wife. And so to translate that, I was even thinking is before I was married, actually Brazelton was like my accountability partner, super close. And so I knew there was stuff, if there were areas in my life that I wasn't talking about regularly with that most important person in my life, that to me is a pressing sign that I feel like I've got it under control. And so to me, it's just that, like you said, community, and which is totally it, but it's somebody that you can be very intentional with. And I catch myself all the time, whether I brush it aside and try and play like it's not a big deal. I feel like making sure to make that a priority is big for me.
That's good.
And if I was getting a little tender,
Yeah.
it was because you need a little bit of this
Oh, yeah.
breath drops.
Thank you.
So how big is this youth group? Just kidding. For a second, you thought I was serious.
No, I
you had that look on your face.
No,
like,
no.
What does he say?
No. Okay, now it smells much better. Thank you.
Thank
How
you.
was my
No
breath?
problem.
Yours is fine.
Is it good?
Yeah. Jake's was making my eyes water.
2 nights in a
Really?
row, the Mish commented on my breath bad. So
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I still am waiting for somebody on the team to find me some little tiny breath drops that don't have alcohol in
little chocolate donuts.
Matt Bailey says, just hopped back on the podcast for the first time in about a year to hear Doug talking about Nazarene viewers dropping off due to Matt's poor language.
Oh, that hurts.
Now they're dropping off because they just drove off a cliff.
See, I got
That's scary.
surprised by that.
Just want to let you know from a Nazarene youth pastor that you guys are the greatest, but obviously not that great since I haven't been watching in over a year. That's Matt Bailey.
That was a perfect email.
This is from Brandon Montgomery. Our church is growing faster than we are able to hire staff. We have grown from about 1,200 people to almost 2,000 over the past few months. As a student ministries pastor, and for the rest of our team listening, don't focus on those numbers. Just think of the percentage of growth.
Right. So that's their whole church, or is that his youth ministry?
No, that's just church.
Oh,
church. So they've grown. They've almost doubled.
Right.
As the student ministry pastor, I oversee middle school, high school, and college. Right now, the only full-time people in my department are myself and an office assistant. We currently have about 125 students in our middle school and high school ministry and about 25 in our college. I feel like I'm 100% work capacity, and we're currently doing in our ministry with 100% capacity with all that we're doing. Worship service, Bible studies, student leadership programs, activities, trips, camps, going to games, etc. I have a great volunteer team, but they're maxed out as well. My pastor is continually wanting all departments to add programs as the church is growing. I'm trying to find a way to let the pastor know that every time we add something to our ministry, it takes time away from something else. I thought about creating a chart that shows the percentage of time per week. He's talking your language now, isn't he? Creating a chart.
Me and Jesus' language. What do you think he drew in the sand?
I'm thought about creating a chart that shows the percentage of times. Now my mind is going to the chart that Jesus drew in the sand. Like, okay, well, we got all the sinners over in this.
Right.
I'll tell you what chart he drew.
Shows the percentage of time per week that I spend on each aspect of the ministry. Whenever my pastor asked about starting new programs, I would show him the chart and ask him where he would like to take time from so that I have time to start new programs. That way, he decides what area of ministry can have less or more attention. Please understand that I would be doing this not to be sarcastic, but instead an effort to start a good conversation about priorities in our ministry. I'd love to hear your thoughts and advice. Brandon Montgomery. Good, another good question.
Sounds like he's got a good grasp on it too.
Yeah.
Should I start?
Go ahead.
Well, I love everything that you said. I mean, the fact that you followed, the fact that you've recognized the capacity and you're not just doing more without stopping to think about it, awesome. Total bonus. You're obviously you are a long timer, or you're gonna be a long timer, whatever.
Yeah.
You know. So that is great. You know, the idea of putting something into a chart. I mean, all jokes aside, to say and to recognize what it is that is important. You know, what is imperative that you must be doing in your ministry. That's huge. Now, to go and talk to your pastor, I think that's a good idea. And I love that you said, you know, you're not going to do it sarcastically. So that's the right thing. I mean, I think that it's like, hey, pastor, I want to do what you want me to do. Here's what's going on. Can you help me figure out, you know, what it is I need to cut? And now, if you did that every once a month or every 6 weeks, I mean, it would get cumbersome. And it's like, well, that's why you're there, to decide what the priorities are and figure that out. But so I love all that. I'm just basically saying I think that's great.
Yeah.
I was thinking of, it's funny because programs is a really broad spectrum, and in youth ministry we use term programs for
everything,
like something that leads a kid to Christ and something that's like pizza and stupidity. And so if there's in that conversation a lot of clarity, your pastor's behind programs, you know, everything from maybe he does love every youth groupie stereotypical thing you could do. Maybe he really just wants you to focus on some specifics, and you could cut out a lot of, maybe what he would prioritize, you could already cut out without changing, without adding to your 100%.
Yeah.
You could cut out some of the stuff you're doing that he would see as unnecessary, would be a potential. But it's hashing through that to see what that could be.
Well, one of the things that you guys have heard me say a bunch, especially when I'm teaching PDYM, saying, you know, you could go back to your churches, cut out half of what you're doing, and you'd probably be healthier. Because we tend to equate adding stuff with health.
Right.
And I tend to think that having, you know, less to do and doing it better, to have some evaluating form to it, is health. I think the principle for people listening is not to focus so much on this youth worker's tremendous growth their churches experience, but to say, okay, why are we doing what we're doing? Right. And I'm maxed out. Everybody feels that way. You know, he's overseeing 3 ministries, which anytime somebody tells me that, I go, okay, so you're not really doing anything well. Right. You know, to focus on that. It sounds like
you can't do anything well. I mean, that's what you really.
Well,
do.
yeah. I mean, defining well. Now there may be some people who are going,
Yeah.
hey, that's how they're gifted. It's really not a fair comment when I say that, because
You didn't mean it the way that it first sounded.
well, you can do something well. It's just, for me, how I like to do ministry isn't. There are some people that would love to play at that top level where you just kind of are overseeing and moving the chess pieces and things like that.
Yeah.
I hear a job description like that and I go, oh gosh, you've just
Yeah.
taken me away from people.
Right.
Because now I'm just a manager of movement and,
Yeah.
and program. But I think the principle for all of
like
us
being
here.
in charge of the regional campuses.
What's that?
Kind of like being in charge of the regional campuses.
Yeah. Is that what you're doing today?
That's what I'm doing this week.
I think the principle is to, I love the chart idea, just to say, here's what we're doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, key sentence for this whole thing for me
Yep.
is we have great volunteers and they're
Yeah.
feeling maxed out too. Because, a lot of people feel maxed out, but
Right.
they're trying to do everything themselves. So it sounds like you have
Yeah.
empowered and equipped other people to help you with that. And it's great.
And finding some more volunteers and increasing capacity. I mean, that's
Is great as
that's
the church
important.
grows.
You
Yeah,
know, I mean, I'm sure that's
Absolutely.
on your radar. And
But it's tough to make recruiting and developing and finding volunteers
When you're
a priority
swamped already.
when you're
Yeah.
scrambling for the next
it'd
next
be
event.
interesting with the
Something has to drop. I mean, the principle in all this stuff is, if you really are at 100%,
Yeah.
you can't add anything. And we do
Yeah.
this. We've done this for years. One of the things that Rick Warren has been good at is, he's obviously great at a lot of things. But one of the things he's come in. I haven't heard this in a long time, but he used to be like, okay, what are we doing that we don't need to be doing anymore? Let's cut.
Yeah.
Let's cut, because when staff is busy, people become busy. Church people become busy.
what I like to say is choosing to cheat.
You and Andy Stanley.
Yep. Well, actually, yeah.
You threw him that bone a few years ago.
Did I?
Hey, you should write a book about this. Isn't that what you said?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't usually forget things.
Did I cut you off?
No, I was just interested when he mentioned the programs, that the culture is an idea for
Yeah.
more programs. I was interested if, in a conversation, if it's that they believe that programs are what's drawing people in and adding to their growth,
Yeah.
or if because of their growth they believe they need to have more programs to keep people connected.
Great question.
Because that
Yeah.
would really help. That would really help.
Yeah, I mean that is an underlying question, is to evaluate what kind of programs is the senior pastor expecting, and is that a good expectation? I mean,
Or is that
but not-
exactly what he's expecting? Because
yeah, get clarification.
Brandon might feel like he's expecting him to add, or feeling the pressure for him to add, and really over a cup of coffee, you might find that the pastor's like, "No, man, I don't."
Just you keep going. I really want those slackers over in children's ministry to add something. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Well, that's probably
Could be.
But
Probably fair.
But perfect. We didn't even really need to answer his question.
no,
He
it
was-
a good
he had-
discussion for the rest of us.
Honestly,
Yeah.
he just
No,
had a very
yeah.
good grasp
Just
of
trying
it.
to affirm him there, guys.
Anyway,
Because affirmation is better than being critical.
Other key learnings.
Still learning.
when I saw that, my heart leapt up. I thought, okay, now I can move on to a second thing to teach him.
Oh, you guys.
This is from Craig Davis. No, Greg. I'm confused by his name because it's spelled.
Oh, wow.
It's
Greg?
spelled like Craig, but with a G. So Greg Davis. But
G-
it's
That's a
parrot
weird
C.
way to spell Greg.
Or Greg.
Yeah,
Greg.
it's Greg. Greg Davis from
Greg.
Wadsworth,
Greg.
Ohio.
GD. Oh. It's his initials, but I wasn't saying a
There
cuss
it is.
word.
We just lost another Nazarene.
I wasn't cussing.
Sure,
That's
sure, Matt. You know what? Your past.
See, I don't feel
performance-
guilty about that.
your
Like
past
that was an
performance is always
accident.
an
I'm not.
indication of what
It's
the future is
just
going to
funny.
look like. He says, "I've been a listener since episode 0. I appreciate the effort you put into the podcast. It's nice to listen to other youth workers talking about youth work. There was a question about how to keep the volunteers from burning out. I've been a volunteer at my church for 10 years. I thought I would chip in and was kept me going. So last week
That's
we talked
awesome.
about this a little bit. The biggest things that help me are the breaks that we have. We take the summer off from leading Wednesday night small groups. And we also have permission to step back from time.
Yeah.
We usually put into getting together with kids outside of church during the year. So they get a step back from doing that a little bit. We all still do, but just knowing that it's okay is even a relief.
Wow.
We also take another break over the holidays from a week before Christmas to the end of January. It's a great mid-season break.
Yep.
During the year, any encouragement is always appreciated. I love hearing about things that parents say to the youth pastor about things we are doing well.
That's a good
One-on-one lunch with the youth pastor to just check up is great as well. Sometimes all we need is just a little break or pat on the back to keep us going. Which
Dude,
is
that's
kinda
cool.
Who
a
is
good
that
summary.
person's youth leader?
I know.
Awesome.
Man, that is so great.
Craig or Greg Davis is youth leader. And then he makes a suggestion for a future podcast, a volunteer-centered one, emails, calls from volunteers, bring in some volunteers on the podcast. It is a
What if
great
we had
idea.
I wonder
questions
if-
from students? Because I think that there's a significant number of students that listen to this.
Yeah, maybe you should start one for teenagers.
Define significant.
Yeah.
That
Student
is,
leaders?
but that is a great
Hey,
question.
speaking of student leaders,
Speaking of student
let me
leaders,
just make a little pause here.
Okay.
I got my
so
royalty
hungry.
statement from Zondervan yesterday.
18
Me
cents?
too. That's so funny.
I was like, whoop.
Help, I'm a student leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sold more than purpose-driven youth ministry in your first 2 years in youth ministry.
Combined?
I don't know about
But that
combined.
makes sense to me. Because if youth pastors love your stuff, it's just exponential that they would take that to their ministry.
Well, yeah, but typically
It's a small
kids
book,
don't
too.
kids don't read books. I mean, it was just I was.
You don't need to read it to buy it.
Yeah, we're not talking about reading books.
Yeah, I was gonna say Josh Griffin just appeared.
Yeah, yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Sorry to burst that bubble.
No.
Yeah.
How are we doing time wise?
Jake, did you ever read any books in high school?
It is 11:40.
I know how we doing
Sports
time wise on.
biographies.
You gave us a free book when I was in high school, and I didn't read it.
What was the free book?
If life is a bowl of chocolate, why am I still making cake? No,
Stupid.
bowl of cherries.
No,
Life is a piece of cake.
If
Why am I
life is
still
a piece
hungry?
of cake, why am I still hungry? I gave a free one to our high school kids last year if they read it. I said I'd give it to you if you read it.
But see-
congratulations, you're gifted.
When I was in high school, though, I hadn't finished reading the Bible all the way through, and I thought, if I'm going to read something, I'm going to read the Bible first.
That away.
Yeah, I
That
need to be happy.
Aaron Drew from Hilliard Church of the Nazarene.
Uh-oh.
Glad you're still with
Uh,
us.
Yeah.
Okay, that guy's initials. That's not my fault.
A little
I
bit.
thought you weren't feeling guilty about it.
Yeah,
oh, no,
thank
I'm
you.
not. That's just funny.
No, that's what guilt is.
Yeah.
Call that callback right there.
Yeah, callback guilt.
So that's, some call it the Holy Spirit.
I've been doing youth ministry 15 years, and pastors don't seem to be interested in mentoring other pastors anymore. I don't have the time, or they're more interested in blogging, creating videos, or podcasts and pouring themselves into someone else.
Oh,
My own senior pastors have no interest in mentoring me because they're too busy as well. I've even offered to help mentor younger youth pastors, but they seem disinterested. I like your advice when it comes to finding and being a mentor.
I think this is a big problem.
Do you think it's a problem, or do you think it's a personality?
Well, I think that yeah, I think it's a problem in that most of us as humans don't take time to develop the relationships that we really need in life. I mean, I think most people would say they're unsatisfied with their relationships.
Yeah.
And so I think in our personal life, that's important to have for accountability and for fun. You know, I mean, we need to have friendships for
Yeah.
fun and hanging out. But I think with ministry also, we youth workers, people in ministry across the lands, I think we spend too much time reinventing the wheel and learning lessons the hard way that we could have learned from other people. And so, yeah, the bigger problem is we don't have enough accountability in our life. That's a bigger problem than not having mentor type relationships.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, as leaders, you know, I mean, the people that are most successful in leadership, they have mentors. You know, they have people that have poured into them and that they're listening and that they're focusing on. So does personality play into it?
unsuccessful people don't have mentors?
I don't know.
I mean, one
That's
doesn't
the
have to
reverse.
be true
Yeah,
without the
the
other.
correlation doesn't mean causation.
Ooh, gosh, if
Put
that's
that
not
on
a
a mug.
podcast quote, we got to put that in the next
Oh,
intro.
That's not a quote.
Right after his 2 weeks of cussing in a row. Well, Drew, I read this and I hear your frustration in there, and I think so much of it is personality, because I think there are some people, intentional mentoring. When people ask me to mentor them, I'm like, I'm always a little leery in terms of, okay, so what does that look like? What are you expecting from that?
Yeah.
Right.
Where I go, people who are on my team,
Right.
I'm pouring into them,
Right.
but that's my style.
Right.
So, like, when I look at my life in 30 years of ministry, I've had one intentional mentor,
Right.
besides Matt.
Right.
Jim Burns has intentionally.
Oh, I was your other mentor. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
I mean, he's intentionally
Thank
gone
you for-
after me.
Yeah.
Now, I've had, Gordon MacDonald has mentored me, and I've never met him. He's mentored me through his books.
Right.
People just mentor different, and they have different styles.
Yeah.
Rick was your
Warren,
mentor.
no, Rick talks about how he mentors younger youth workers, or younger pastors, through twittering and through his weekly
yeah.
newsletter. That's great. I sat in a ton of meetings from Rick and learned a ton
Right.
just listening to him teach. So he has been a mentor, but he hasn't been an intentional mentor. I mean, he hasn't taken
Right.
me out.
And that's a
said,
good clarity difference. Yeah.
there's a lot of people but intentional where, it's like when you gave me the tape from last weekend.
Yeah.
Jake gave me his tape of speaking. So he
Which is
spoke
so
part
nerve-wracking,
one.
by the way.
No, you did great.
Great.
I haven't listened to it yet, but
Yeah.
I just
Well, wait to hear
heard
it.
You can give me it.
But I'm gonna, I said to him, "Give me the DVD because I want to watch it."
Right.
And I think I could help him more by just watching it. But since we're driving to LA tomorrow, I just knowing where my time is between
Yeah.
now and Saturday, I just know that it's probably going to be easier for me to,
Put the
to listen
DVD
to it
in your computer. Just watch it on that.
while I drive.
I thought you said we. You going to LA by yourself?
I'm going with Kathy.
Oh.
I invited you, but you're going somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I also know I love Jake, and I would say that Jake would put me in a category of mentors.
Totally.
But you've been more intentional in Jake's life than I have in terms of all the time that you've spent with him.
Yeah.
That I think
But-
they're different.
And you've poured more into Brazel than I have
yeah.
through the years.
Yeah.
I mean, when Brazel was in high school.
Yeah,
so-
well, it's a
But-
different type of
Yeah.
mentoring. But I think Drew, one of the things that I think about, even at, leadership at Saddleback for 18 years, is that in some regards, I got a paycheck, and that paycheck was given to me to do the job.
Right.
Where I don't necessarily think I got the paycheck and Rick Warren said, I'm really going to mold and craft and mentor Doug. That's not his personality. He's more entrepreneurial. He's big picture, that type of thing. But he was an influence and mentor.
Sure.
Now, even if I would have sought Rick out
Right.
and said, Rick, I'd really like you to mentor me intentionally.
Right.
It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, he
just
probably,
not-
even if he would have said
it's not
yes
his
right away.
personality.
Right, totally.
Yeah. I mean, Rick actually.
He probably would have been like, yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you got to find people where, now when I said that to Jim, I mean, I remember when I was a junior in high school, I said, Jim, I want to learn how to be a leader. I want to learn how to be a teacher.
Right.
I remember going to Jim's house. He had me read a book, and he wanted me to teach him the book.
Right.
So I'm in we were moving furniture. He was a total double dip, help me move furniture. So I helped
That's
him
where
move
you
the
got that
furniture.
from.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I stood in
He
front of
did
his
mentor.
fireplace as he sat down on the couch, and I had to stand up and teach him the book.
The whole book.
Well, the principles of the book. Like
awesome.
basically,
Yeah.
I had to give a 15-minute talk
Right.
about what the book was about.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, that was intentional mentoring.
Right.
But I haven't worked for Jim since, I stopped working for Jim in 85 or something like
Yeah.
that. But he's continued to mentor me
Yeah.
in my life. And I think you have to have different types of mentors. You have, people have said to me, you
Yeah.
have mentored me in youth ministry.
Right.
Well, great. That's totally honoring to me that
Yeah.
they've read stuff or heard stuff. And I'm thrilled out of my mind to have been a mentor to that person.
It hurts with the pride issue
For what?
to go back to that, just that's there. But, sorry,
That
I
was
tried
really
to throw in a
funny.
bit. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's
dang
fine.
it. But another way to
Well, let me
repackage
finish
this.
that.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
But for me to be that only person's mentor
Yeah.
probably isn't realistic.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So there's another
Okay.
humor bit. You guys are landing
that
on
was-
heavy. Yeah, they need to find somebody else who's going to walk with them and do life with them,
Right,
and
right.
raise that caution flag when they see pride, or coach them in a different way.
Yeah.
But I think Drew's point, just because you have a job doesn't mean people are going to mentor you
Yeah.
because they are over you. You got to seek it out. You've got to pursue it. Even if you pursue it, it may not be their personality.
Yeah. But another way to say it, and the packaging, is that you need to be growing. You need to be in our environment. With Jana and Katie and all this, like, we challenge each other, and
Yeah.
we're still growing. And
Yeah.
so that, that's what's important. I think if you're on your own and you're not growing in any way,
Yeah. Well, I
you
think
gotta
some of
be-
our team needs to hear, it may not be your pastor.
Yeah, that's a
And
good.
that's
it
okay.
may not be your boss. That you might have different types of mentors. And this show, there are podcasts. It really is, in some ways, it is a slice of mentoring for some people, as odd as that sounds.
just enough youth ministry so you don't feel guilty for listening.
That's right. But they need to
Yeah.
get more slices.
Yeah, that's good.
More slices.
I was gonna say, as a
Now
young
you're talking your language.
Now-
right?
as a young
Oh.
leader who can get to feel that way too, I think it's just as important that Drew recognizes his need to be mentoring someone
Yeah.
as he feels passionate about being mentored in
Yeah.
that process. And not that I necessarily heard that from him, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's easy to be like, hey, where's my mentor? And it's
Well,
like,
and
oh,
he
wait.
may be
But what if he's just mentoring students? Does he need to mentor other youth workers?
no, I
May-
don't think
yeah,
so.
I think
he's
like Doug
developing
said,
leaders.
it's all the attitude. It's all
Yeah.
it's all in the attitude.
It's
it's not that
Yeah.
Paul
What
was,
if you said, you said, Paul, what if you say, okay, everybody needs a Timothy,
yeah,
but every Timothy needs a Paul. So you may be
Right.
you may be Paul in somebody's life,
Exactly.
but you need to be Timothy in somebody else's life.
right.
So,
I just
All
wanna
right, Matt.
Be like Jesus.
thank you for not cussing this week.
You're welcome.
For the most part.
Yeah, you kind of initial cussed, but we can live with that. We might have lost some Baptists on that one.
Yeah.
All right, love you guys.
Why
Great
couldn't his
job,
first
Chris.
name been
Thank you for
James?
making this happen. Andy, thank you for the $199 that we could finally
Yay,
buy some
Brazel.
good software.
Best collection of questions I think in show history.
You don't listen to the show.
Oh, yeah.
No, you don't.
Number one,
No,
No,
I'm
no.
not.
guaranteed,
Yeah,
You've just made fun of all the other questions.
guaranteed. Number one.
that's
I
pride
like to,
speaking.
I'm a lot more encouraging than Jake is.
That's not even close to true.
That's true.
But let's end right now, okay?
That's true.
All right, bring it in.
But we gotta bring it in.
All right, bye, Jan.